doing a good job. Having said that, the response that I've gotten on the first issue, to use kind words, Honorable Speaker, is to say that this is an insulting response. It makes it look as though I imagined what I raised. And Honorable Speaker, I had actually requested the committee to invite me, and they gave me a date of 26th of this month, 2 days ago, that they would invite me when IEBC were in the committee so I could raise these issues of illegal transfers. Now they're saying it cannot happen, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if the chair had paid attention, we had a member who was elected the other day in Embu County, which is, I believe, is neighboring county. And I'm glad that he's won his petition. But the whole issue around that petition that forced a recount of votes was because there were some registrations that went on at the time when the IEBC register was closed. So these issues are happening. Now, there was an expose done by NTV. Speaker Moturi gave some evidence, and I did, and I restricted my comments, Honorable Speaker, with respect to this House, because I didn't want to raise this issue. Now, Honorable Speaker, let me give the chairman these names. These are people from Embakasi West. Christopher Moteru lives in Molem. He's a registered voter now in Garissa, in Ijara. When I spoke to the member of parliament from Ijara, he told me this polling center, Bula AP dispensary, is at the farthest corner in his constituency. Number 2, Moiro Mongai, Garissa, Mbalambala, Danyere. When I spoke to the honorable member, he told me this is a very far-flung polling center. Number 3, Abraham Kehia, Garissa, Ijara, Bula AP dispensary. Mind you, these are people I know and live in my constituency. Yeah? Another one, Ken Mueni, moved to Garissa, Ijara Livestock Market.
How long is the list?
Honorable Speaker, it's a long list. I've stopped.
Proceed.
Did I imagine these names for them to tell me that it is impossible? And I don't want to raise this politics. Why are these people from one community only being moved to these areas? This is the issue that I have. If you are moving these names to Moranga, Kiambu, I'll assume maybe they are voting in their ancestral homes. These are not the ancestral homes in Garissa and Wajir. It's not there. So, Chair, with due respect, let IEBC not treat as though I'm accusing them. We are not in court. I want to give them this information because, in my opinion, there is a third party involved and using resources to confuse these young men who will not get a chance to vote. I have to transfer these individuals back, and I've refused, Honorable Speaker, to transfer them back so that I can give them to IEBC, they can interrogate them, and they will tell them what they have told me. There is somebody somewhere. It is not the commissioners I'm accusing, it is not my returning officer, but it is somebody meddling. And mind you, Chair, this issue cuts is in Embakasi North, it's in Embakasi Central. Even Honorable Mbui, I hope he was listening to me, he'll tell you it is there. So, please, Chairman,
very well.
Just call me to a meeting where you are meeting with the IEBC, and I will give them these people. I will give them these contacts. Let them investigate and find out so that we sort out this issue. Otherwise, we're just laying ground for election petitions that will be endless after the elections in 2027. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I can see some interest. Let me just take two, Oundo. Briefly, the first speaker had the leverage.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I want Sir George to listen carefully and convey this message to IEBC. Honorable Speaker, the integrity of an election is not determined on the day of counting. And Honorable Speaker, allow me to paint a very clear and a very well-orchestrated scheme being played on the border points. And I say so in relation to what Honorable Mwenje has raised. Honorable Speaker, there is currently something called rapid initiative, something like that, to register people as residents of Kenya, to issue them ID cards. And that, Honorable Speaker, is specifically happening in Teso North and Funyula. What is happening, Honorable Speaker? Somebody somewhere is transporting non-citizens, non-Kenyans, to come and get ID cards. The moment they are given the waiting cards, they're immediately registered as voters, in blatant disregard on the procedures. Honorable Speaker, the Constitution of Kenya, Article 15.1 and Article 15.2, says for any non-Kenyan to be registered to be Kenyan by registration, first of all, must have been married for 7 continuous years. Number 2, must have been lived in Kenya for 10 continuous years. Honorable Speaker, in Funyula constituency and Teso North, we are witnessing a very ugly spectacle. People are coming in lorries. People are coming in matatus. And Honorable Speaker, those guys cannot either speak Swahili, cannot speak English, cannot speak local dialect. You wonder, when did they live in Kenya for 7 years? How do they transact business if they've lived in Kenya for 7 years, yet they cannot read and write in English, Swahili, or local dialect? How do they become residents of Kenya? How have they lived for Kenya? For 10 years, Honorable Speaker. And they cannot even read and write. Honorable Speaker,
we got your point.
It might be expedient
please.
Politically, but the danger we're exposing this country to is going to haunt us for 10 or so years after the people who are orchestrating the same have long left office. It's a dangerous situation, and I hope it cuts across both electoral integrity and the national security of this country. And Honorable Speaker, with the fullness of time, I'll bring a substantial question to be answered.
Very well.
And I hope nobody will kill it in the bureaucracy as well as the practice in this parliament. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
No, just bring a question, it will not be killed. The business here must just be undertaken. I can see, Honorable, is that Wandeto? Yeah, very briefly, and then we go back to Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. The issue of electoral integrity, Mr. Speaker, is very, very important. And you know, this country has even gone into very difficult times because of the questions of electoral integrity. As we speak, I think the ODM party, which Honorable Millie is a member of, I think are still waiting for some servers to be opened from the last election. So electoral justice is a big thing. And Mr. Speaker, when we hear about voters being transferred against their wish, all finding themselves where they did not wish to be registered, it is an issue that requires a thorough investigation. And we do not want these sort of casual responses coming from the committees. What we would like is a thorough investigation, including those voters being called to appear in the committee and show the evidence that they are alluding to. And the 2027 election, Mr. Speaker, will be a very, very consequential election in this country. And already, some of the utterances even being made by leaders or some members of this House, who some have said that even if their candidate of choice doesn't win, they will steal for him the vote. Maybe we are wondering whether these things of moving, especially members of a certain community, from where they voted, it could be part of the voter suppression, which is being organized. And there's been many people who have come out clearly and saying, they will steal this election. So these are very serious early warning signs. And I hope that the relevant committees can take this matter very, very seriously and not give casual responses in this House, because indeed this could be a plot to steal the 2027 general election, and there are many, many signs that are coming out that indeed all is not well. Thank you.
Chair. Order. The two members.
Thank you.
Some of them are senior members.
Very much. Honorable Speaker, I start with Honorable Wandeto. If you ask a question that appears casual on the face of it, you will get a casual answer. This is the reason why lawyers would always give you what is known as particularization of a question, or giving full and sufficient particulars so that you are able to receive a sufficient answer. You know, allegations that are made in funerals, in harambes and what have you, those are just allegations. They have no particulars. They do not have anything else. And that takes me to the joyriding by Honorable Oundo. Here we are dealing with the voter registration, not registration of persons to receive IDs. And again, the way you're stating it is equally casual. You're saying there are people coming there in lorries, they can either speak Swahili or Luya language or whatever, and it borders on criminality. So these are criminal elements who are doing criminal things, and you've not made a report. So you need to go to the authorities, make a report so that these are investigated. And you provide the particulars. You cannot just go there and say, last night I was told some lorry was seen somewhere ferrying people. Nobody will take you seriously. Let me go to Honorable Mwenje. Honorable Mwenje, you've read out names. Which names should have actually been in your statement? That's the reason you're complaining that there has been no investigation. Had you given those names in your request, you would now be having answers as to what your constituents who belong to a certain ethnic community did to find themselves in wherever they found themselves, if that is true. So, the way to cure it is you may do a letter to Justice and Legal Affairs with those names, IDs, and other particulars. Then we'll invite IEBC to appear before us, and you may be surprised. Through the process I have read here, those constituents of yours actually appeared before a registration officer, expressed intention to go to Mbalambala or wherever they want to go, and the due process was followed and they were moved. How that happened, you say somebody somewhere is inducing them. Again, let us have particulars of that particular somebody somewhere who is inducing them, who is committing an offense, and you are not complaining about him because you are not allowed to do so. However, if the inducement is done elsewhere, we don't know where, and one fine morning, a young man by the names you have given, Mwangi or Kamau or whomsoever, appears before a registration officer voluntarily, out of his own will, volenti, and he says, I want to be moved to Balabala. The reasons he states, whatever reasons, he is now shifting base from your constituency to Garissa or to wherever. And the registration officer is convinced that that application has merit. Believe you me, IEBC will act on it. So let's get full particulars. I assure you, we will have IEBC coming over and they will give a response. Thank you very much, because at least you have confidence in some of the commissioners. In fact, it's not just Anderito. All of them are determined to deliver to this country a free, fair, credible, justifiable election. Those allegations of rigging, those are wishful thinking of whoever is thinking that way. We want an election that is going to be believable by everybody, because an election is done at a polling station. And that is going to be what we will take forward. So, but this House must also fund IEBC. I have made that plea before, that if IEBC is not properly funded, then you will hear cries and whinging